Alright, I promise this isn't becoming a Company of Heroes channel, but today we're back at it again with Company of Heroes 3. And in the next couple of weeks, it'll be the Blitzkrieg mod for Company of Heroes 1. But yeah, there will be other games, I promise. Anyway, this is a bit of a different video than usual, because today we're on, drumroll please, console! Xbox to be exact, covering the Company of Heroes 3 Console Edition launch, marking the first time the series has embarked from its home on PC. So, PC friends, let's all be nice and civil and welcome our console counterparts into the world of RTS, shall we? Like Sam here, who I can see is watching this video. They might not have ever played a strategy game before. Maybe they don't even own a PC, having been relegated to console because their older sibling wanted to play FIFA or something. I don't really know what you play on consoles. But if we're nice and welcoming enough, maybe we'll be able to convince them, and others, that real-time strategy isn't the scary, impenetrable genre that it's often made out to be. And to me that sounds like a noble goal. Now, full disclosure before we continue, this video is kindly sponsored by Sega and 5-Star Games, #ad, #sponsored. So don't view this as a review, it's a showcase. If you're looking for my opinions on the core game, then I've made them pretty clear in previous videos, and you can see the links for them in the description if you're interested. I think it's great to see a big name RTS like this make the jump to consoles. It's a tough nut to crack, strategy on a couch with a controller, and there's only been a couple of times where it's really seen any success in the past. So seeing this and Age of Empires both have console releases within the last year is great, and I hope to see more of it. New people playing RTSs is always a good thing, and the more platforms the better. Lastly, before we crack into it, I wanted to let you know that 5-Star Games are running a giveaway for a custom Company of Heroes 3 console, and if you'd like to enter to win it, then there are links in the description. And can I just say, man, look at this giveaway. This is pretty sick. Those Australians know how to make something cool. Imagine having this in your room or something. I kind of want it, but I can't. I can't have it. This is a console in a church with like all these tanks and soldiers and stuff. This is sick. At its core, Company of Heroes 3 on console is the same game we've been playing on PC since February. It's a couple of patches behind, but there are plans to bring it to patch parity with PC in the coming months. There's a lot of Ps. As I understand it, a lot of lead time is required to release a game on the official Xbox and PlayStation stores, so I imagine the final build was submitted a while back. That aside, it's mostly indistinguishable, with the only major difference being the lack of a store and challenges in the console edition. Something to note is that there are currently no plans to bring the store to this version, but future DLC and cosmetics will likely see release on the respective platform stores of both consoles. Otherwise, as far as content is concerned, it's all here. Starting with the single player offering, you've of course got both campaigns, the big dynamic map, aka the Italian campaign, as well as the more traditional linear COH story campaign in the North African one. After completing it on PC, I've now spent a few hours playing the former on console to get a feel of how it all handles, and I think I prefer playing this campaign on a console. I know, crazy. I can't exactly say why, but something about a big map on a big TV, controlling troop movements and managing things is just really cozy. Other than those, skirmishes here to round out the single player offering, as well as co-op against the AI, and the full PvP suite for multiplayer. Though, unfortunately, there's no planned cross-platform play or progression. Personally, I would love to see this added in, and in my opinion, it should be at the top of any future to-do lists for this reason. Now, if you, like me, always waved away the idea of playing an RTS on a controller because it would be too difficult, then I am about to turn your worldview upside down. No, really, because playing COH 3 on a controller is, somewhat surprisingly, really intuitive and actually quite easy to do. Look, I know this is a sponsored video, so maybe you won't believe this. Fine, sure, that's your right, but I am being serious here. You know, I could have just plugged in a mouse and keyboard and played it that way. The sponsor deal doesn't contain a clause that I'm required to speak highly of the controller experience, but here I am and I'm gonna do just that. Because I was one of those people, waving away controllers in favour of keyboard and mouse, especially for an RTS. Look, I'm the guy who finished Dark Souls 1 and Outer Wilds with a mouse and keyboard, and I have a spare Xbox controller for my PC. I could have played them that way. So when I tell you that I enjoyed using a controller for a strategy game, you best believe the controls are pretty damn good. Now, am I saying that I'll hook up a controller to my PC and now exclusively use it, sacrificing the use of my free left hand that I normally use to mindlessly scroll Reddit, while my teammates are getting obliterated in my peripheral vision? No, come on, of course not. But there is definitely something to be said about laying back, pulling up a blanket, and playing a goddamn real-time strategy game on the couch, okay? Gamer hunch, be gone.
Bruh.
Company of Heroes 3's control scheme relies on an ingenious use of a tried and true method of controlling games on console. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you the radial menu.
Wow.
This innovative piece of technology allows you to do everything from using unit abilities to training new units, constructing buildings, and more. And yes, I know it does look fairly big here in the recording, with it taking up most of the screen, but remember, this is on a TV 1, 2, 3 meters away. It needs to be big to be readable. There's also a few other smart things that Relic have implemented to make the control scheme feel more natural. A sort of sticky camera tracks units as you highlight them, which feels really natural. So natural that I didn't even realize it was happening until I actually thought about it. There are also options to customize things, letting you choose, for example, whether you want the camera to jump to units when you select them, how fast your panning speed is, and more. While I was surprised about how naturally the control scheme felt, I still wasn't nearly as proficient with it as I could have been with a mouse and keyboard. Fielding lots of units did cause me to get overwhelmed sometimes, so that's when COH3's tactical pause menu really did come in handy. I only used this feature a few times on PC, but on console it was awesome. Being able to pause the game, queue up orders, and then have them all play out simultaneously is not only pretty to watch, but also very effective, as it picked up the slack from me not being fully proficient with playing on a controller. I imagine that your reliance on this feature will be determined by how good at the game you are, and it obviously can't be used in multiplayer, but it's a great way to level the playing field in the campaigns and skirmish. My biggest concern coming into this was that I thought I would simply get stun-locked whenever more than one thing began to happen. And I was pretty sure that once I'd engaged one squad of enemies with my squad of units, my brain would just be at like 100% capacity and anything else would just have to wait until my current task was completed. And sorry Relic, but I must admit that that did happen in the first hour or two. But that was just because I was new. Once I got a feel for how things worked, getting stuff to happen the way I wanted it to began to come quite easily, and I was pretty satisfied with how I was able to implement my will over my little soldiers, putting me right back in the shoes of some sadistic warmongering puppet master. Figuring out how to control more than a couple of squads of units effectively was my biggest hurdle, and once that was cleared, missions began to smooth out. It really is all about forcing yourself to get comfortable with that radial menu and remembering to utilize the pause feature to its fullest ability. Knowing that you can freeze things at any time is a really reassuring backstop. The biggest recommendation I can give for anyone looking to up their controller game is very simple. Use the pause feature, please, it makes it so much easier. And secondarily, when you're in that pause menu, make sure to stay on top of unit positioning and their abilities. I'll admit that in some of this footage, it's probably not ideal. You'll be able to see me get lazy and leave units out in the open instead of like putting them in a building or behind cover where they should be. And that's on me. Don't be like me. If I can credit myself in something though, it's my right hand. No, not like that. I mean for hiffing grenades. I don't think I've chucked more grenades at any time in my Company of Heroes 3 career. I don't know exactly why I was feeling so inclined to throw so many down range. Maybe it's that radial menu, man. Makes you feel like a tactics god. Now lastly, a word on performance. I've been playing on an Xbox Series X, but the game is also available on a Series S and PS5. I've been able to choose between two rendering options, performance and quality, and of those options I've found performance to be the best choice. If you go to the quality mode, you do get 4K resolution and some clearly improved textures and effects, but you get reduced to 30 FPS, and as an elite PC gamer, that's something I just could not stand for. The loss of quality isn't that noticeable when you're sitting back on the couch meters away, so a higher frame rate is better for me. There were only a couple of times where I noticed a frame drop, and that was with like a 3v3 skirmish with lots of units and a big map. And otherwise, it's been rock solid. Nice job. Apart from a couple of stints with Age of Empires, one good and one very bad, Company of Heroes 3 has been my first real experience playing a real-time strategy game on console with a controller. And I've got to say, there were some things about the experience that surprised me, and I can easily see a lot of people enjoying or even preferring this method of play. Now, obviously, I'm not expecting for everyone to jump ship and start demanding Forged Alliance forever on the PlayStation 5, but if you're a console gamer who wants to play RTS, I don't think there's any reason to consider yourself a second-class citizen here, except for the game library, maybe. Like I mentioned earlier, being all cozied up on the couch with a hot chockey on a winter's night is pretty blessed, and that is actually a selling point for me. Like, damn guys, put that on the box. And depending on your console, there are other benefits too. For me, being on Xbox, Quick Resume was really awesome. Closing the game yesterday, then opening it today to be immediately back in game where I left off was really cool. Plus, I can see remote play being a great feature for some people if you have one of those funny phone controller add-on things. I know this sounds like an ad for Xbox. Sorry guys, this video is booked already, but it's really not. Sega and Relic are more than happy for you to play on whatever console you choose. I guess just as a PC guy who owns an Xbox but seldom uses it, it's mostly my wife's Netflix/Hogwarts Legacy machine, some of these platform features are still quite unique to me. I'm not saying that every PC gamer out there should give console RTS a try, and obviously not every game and series would translate well, but I would say not to dismiss it without a consideration at least. It might just surprise you. I'm glad to see some big RTS franchises trying their luck at penetrating the console market. As I said earlier, more players and new audiences are absolutely a good thing for the genre. More eyes means more sales. More sales means more players. More players means more budgets for studios, and it all adds up to more interest from publishers to be able to dedicate more time to strategy games. And I'm all here for that. I've enjoyed my time with Company of Heroes 3 on console, and while I won't be permanently swapping from the PC or anything like that, I'll be keeping the game on my console for chilling out on the couch in the future. And if crossplay is ever added, I could definitely see myself playing with some mates on the couch instead of being hunched over at my PC. Especially now that there's Discord integration into the Xbox, and I think it's in the PlayStation too, so that just makes things even easier. Company of Heroes 3 Console Edition is available now on Xbox Series S and X and PlayStation 5, and you can of course still get the PC version on Steam. And a reminder, there's the console giveaway going on, which you can enter via the link in the description. Thank you very much for watching, and if you'd like to support me directly with what I do here, then consider doing so either on Patreon or here on YouTube. You'll join legends like Aero, Crizzy218, Jack, Nutty Jawa, Overlord Jeebus, T-Edits, Crispy Robo Chicken, XV204, Benjamin, David, Cynical Cheddar, Sebastian, Dakayo, David, Wintendo, Bad Ghosts, Sean, Grey Spirit 4, Peter, Tim, George, Nedders, and my paladins, Johnny Woof, Stratager, and Eric. Thanks very much guys, and thank you all again, and I'll see you all next time.